how would you say that you have changed as a person through this process?
I would say kind of like beforehand, I was very skeptical of everything, very cynical, and especially towards myself, and very rough on myself. And just everything that was making up me was from external input. Whereas now it's working through a lot of these things I've seen, okay, this limiting belief has affected me in this way to accept someone else's input instead of knowing who I am and loving who I am and accepting that. And I would just say, just because of that, I am able to see, and of course, it's still something I'm working on, right? But to be able to see myself and accept myself for who I am, and not have other people, what they say, affect me as much. I'm more positive. I'm more just relaxed.
All right, we got a client interview today with my client Tryn. Tryn, thanks for jumping on, man.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Awesome. So, just like we were talking about, basically the goal for today is to kind of talk about your experience going through the program in the hopes that somebody who's listening to this can resonate and can connect with it. And yeah, so let's dive in, man. So, kind of like the first thing is, who are you? What do you do? And we'll go from there.
So I'm Tryn Messarch. I live in Utah, northern Utah, and I work in property management heavily, and I also do real estate sales. And so just very busy all the time.
Yeah, like we were just talking about that, especially like in the summertime, like it's a busy
Oh,
time for you, right?
oh
So,
yes.
how did you hear about me and Driven Dadpreneur in the first place?
I was actually just browsing social media, and I had been following people with inspirational messages and whatnot to because I knew there was something that needed to change in me.
Mm,
And there were changes that I wanted to make. And so I was looking for inspirational content to help me be more consistent in life and to really break through some barriers that um, I was struggling with. And then all of a sudden I saw a your page, and I started following you and started seeing your content, and then you reached out. So
yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and so you mentioned like you were, working on yourself and trying to work through barriers. So, what were some of those things when you first got started that you were either struggling with or looking to improve on?
I would say some of those things that I was initially struggling with is I was just exhausted. I was exhausted with everything and didn't know heads from tails, just couldn't keep up and was just tired mentally, emotionally, physically. Uh,
Mm,
and I was just kind of existing instead of thriving. That was my big thing. And so I had a bunch of goals and aspirations, but just was holding myself back and just literally was like, oh, I want to do this and this is how I can do it. But
yeah.
that's just too much work. I don't, just kind of really holding myself back and knowing what I needed to do to get to where I wanted to be, but was just struggling,
Mm,
and was in such a bad place mentally that like was I was very cynical and skeptical of a lot of things and just wasn't in a good headspace.
mm. Thanks for sharing that with me, man. I think a lot of people can resonate with that, like of knowing you're capable of more, but either being like so overwhelmed or just like feeling like you're stuck. So, how long were you in kind of like that state before we started? Like,
I think I was in that state for probably almost a year
dang.
where I like looking back now, like I had made some major changes in life a couple of years before and felt like I was on an upward trajectory. But then just going through the year before I started working with you, it was just like, yeah, I would say that's the time frame where I was just starting beating myself up, very
Hmm,
skeptical, cynical of everything, and just not in a good place.
okay. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And once you got started, I know we kind of talked on Instagram, then we had our initial call. Once you got started, like what were some of the aspects that were the most helpful for you in going through the program?
Honestly, I loved learning about the limiting beliefs and the exercises behind that. I think that was just night and day difference. Like I going into it, like I've learned all of these principles, being in project management, industrial engineering, continuous improvement. Like I've learned and have known about a lot of the other concepts that you teach, but that concept literally, like I had heard about it before, hadn't done much research into it, but it just night and day difference. That was my favorite part about all of your courses, was just learning about those limiting beliefs and the exercises to overcome it and how to be more confident and
Yeah.
positive.
Yeah. I remember that session and how it was almost like something just like flipped
Yeah.
in you. Is that kind of like how it felt, or like how did it feel on the other side?
I wouldn't say it was like a light switch,
Okay.
but and it's still something that I'm working on, right? Like, but it was just I saw the light. Like, like it was
Yeah.
just like, this is it. This is how I can move forward. I can break past it. And I felt myself start shedding off the weight that I was carrying, and being able to move past those mental blocks, and even just like realizing like it took me a couple days to realize like how I jumped over the first mental block, and it wasn't until we were having a conversation where I was like, oh shoot, like I did this. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? And so I would say it wasn't a light switch for me, but it's still a process, but it was a big process.
Yeah. That was so cool to just watch you just like really access your true authentic self and the
Mm.
confidence that came from that. So once you were able to kind of go through that exercise, implement some of the other systems and strategies, what are some of the results that really stand out to you, that you're the most proud of?
I would definitely say beforehand, like I'm an introverted type person. I'm an introverted extrovert, I guess, or extroverted introvert is a better way to put it.
Yeah.
Um, And one of the major things that I feel that I have always struggled with in life is I feel the need to include a lot of people. And with that comes the need to feel like I have to carry a conversation and never let it die.
Mm,
And I would say my favorite part through those limiting beliefs is that I now am okay with silence and conversation. I don't feel the need to carry a conversation. If someone doesn't want to talk to me, they don't want to talk to me. That's fine,
hmm.
and I'm not taking anything personally by it. It's just okay, that's fine. Move on. Like, and just how that has helped me in growing my business, growing my brand, and like in my personal life, even, it's just that is something that I am most proud of at this point, and I feel has made a huge difference in my life. It's that just that confidence of I can talk to anybody, just kind of going into some of those limiting beliefs of where it's like, oh, I was just this super awkward guy and whatnot. And like, I just didn't want to and I just had to force any kind of social situation and interaction. Now I'm just like, no, I'm a very relatable person, reasonable guy, and it's just that confidence,
Yeah.
and having that's the thing I'm most proud of.
That's cool. Because I've definitely seen that. Like we talked about, it's just like that authentic confidence. Um, and some people think like confidence is just like that belief that you can do anything. And that's definitely part of it, like based off of your results. But I think a lot of confidence is just accepting who you are and being
Yeah.
like really proud of that. And I
Yeah.
think that that's like been a huge thing that I've seen in you. And so can you talk a little bit more about, now that you are more confident, how has that impacted like your relationships in the property management side, your business with the real estate. Can you just talk a little bit more about how that has carried over into those different areas?
Yeah. So I would definitely say, like, if you're trying to always force a social interaction and like carry a conversation, conversations never really die. And in property management, where you're trying to lead into sales and investing and whatnot, it, you really can drive away someone by not having that confidence. And so just having the confidence to just be like, okay, these are your answers. Here you go. I'm personal, being friendly. All right, well, I have stuff to do. I know you have stuff to do. I'm going to move on. And I feel that confidence has really shown it by increasing the sales opportunities that I've had through property management. Um, I've just met random people where they're like, hey, we really like you. You're super easy to talk with. Can you manage our properties? Like, you're someone that, like, you've expressed this knowledge that we haven't seen anyone else have. And so they've, through that confidence, they see, yes, you have a significant amount of knowledge, dealing with very difficult situations. It's the same thing where people get upset, especially when it surrounds money. Like,
Oh
I
yeah.
can't, oh yeah, like I can't tell you the experiences. I could go on for days about the experiences that I've had where people act very differently when it comes to money, and very nasty sometimes. And just dealing with all of that and the confidence to just not take it personally, like those limiting beliefs, their situation is not my situation. Like, I can help to a certain extent, but after that, it's, you just kind of gotta let things lie. And just having that confidence to deal with that has really helped. It has helped the owners that I work for and manage for gain confidence in me.
Hmm.
um to have the trust that, like, I'm going to take care of them as much as I can, but I am going to have a boundary as well, where I'm not going to let them push me around. And so that confidence there, and even dealing with the tenant side, it's the same thing of the confidence of, okay, he's going to be nice. He's going to help me out, but there is going to be a limit where we can't push past it.
Yeah. I think that's I know we had talked about this where like in property management, you're dealing with a lot of like tenants who get angry. And I remember before, like those types of conversations would really throw you off.
Oh,
Whereas
yes.
now you just like accept it and like move on,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly. That confidence. I don't know another word to explain it, but just like, yeah, I used to spiral for days over very tough conversations, and it slowed me down so much. Being like, okay, how do I dance around this in my response and this and that? Now I'm like, cool, I can get stuff done. Like, you know what? It's a difficult conversation and this just needs to be said. And I can say it
Yeah.
in a very kind way, but some
Hmm.
things just need to be said. And that's that. So it saved me so much time. It saved me so much mental and emotional energy. Like, it's just night and day difference.
Yeah. That's so cool. Um, and then didn't you also like start that authenticity and confidence, didn't that carry over into like you creating content and like sharing that with your business? Can you talk about that part of it as well?
Yeah, I mean, that's it's always been part of my ideal to be able to grow on the social media side. I'm not a big social media person. Unfortunately, I'm at the point in my business where I have to create content in order to put myself out there, and I can't just hire someone to do it for me.
Yeah.
But like, it definitely, there are a lot of limiting beliefs when it comes to that, and we had a nice long conversation about that.
Yeah.
Where that has led into the authenticity of myself, of I feel comfortable putting out what I am proud of out
Yeah.
there. I'm not afraid of the the internet trolls. I'm not afraid of that, and it's not something that's going to be affecting me moving forward.
Mm,
It's not a crutch that I'm leaning on of, oh, I can't do it because I don't like that. I don't want to interact with people like that. It's just one of those things where it's like, okay, I'm going to throw myself out there, and I don't have to interact with those people,
yeah.
but it doesn't stop me either.
I think that's so cool because it just allows you to like get over that fear of judgment, what
Yes,
other people say, and just be your confident self. So you kind of touched on this, but like, how would you say that you have changed as a person through this process?
I would say kind of like beforehand, I was very skeptical of everything, very cynical, and especially towards myself, and very rough on myself. And just everything that was making up me was from external input. Whereas now it's working through a lot of these things I've seen, okay, this limiting belief has affected me in this way to accept someone else's input instead of knowing who I am and loving who I am and accepting that. And I would just say, just because of that, I am able to see, and of course, it's still something I'm working on, right? But to be able to see myself and accept myself for who I am, and not have other people, what they say, affect me as much. I'm more positive. I'm more just relaxed.
That's so cool. And how does that feel after knowing like you were, you had those blocks? How does that feel on the other side to be your authentic self and to have that confidence?
I would say, like, right, like in the mix of everything in your daily life, the chaos, like you don't really notice it, but when you take your time, like I would say the principles of like weekly planning and quarterly planning and whatnot, and you get to really review back, like it definitely gives you confidence. It gives you, I have been more grateful for my life and for my higher being, right? Like I'm more grateful for a lot of things, and I'm happy with the person who I am and what I'm becoming. And that is more than I could say beforehand. It gives you time to reflect. And like one of the things that I think is cool where beforehand I never took photos. I was just
Mm,
living life, and it was like these experiences are for me with my family and my kids. But now, like as I do these planning sessions, I look back and I'm like, I may have made it a point to take photos. I'm like, I love my memories and I get to experience them again. Whereas before, I'd be like, just so much chaos in your mind and whatnot. Like you're just sitting there, but like on what I'm trying to get to the point is like taking those photos, having those memories. I've had more gratitude in life for these changes, and I'm happier with who I am and where I'm going.
mm,
So
that hits. I
yeah,
feel like that's what we all want. Like we're getting into these businesses and we have our kids so that we can create an amazing life and to appreciate who
yeah,
we are and appreciate the relationships that we have. But when you don't have the systems and you have a lot of these things that are holding you back, you don't ever get that perspective.
yeah,
And it's only when you work through it, implement the systems that you can then have that perspective. That's so
exactly.
good. That's so cool.
Yes.
So, any pieces of advice for somebody who's kind of who was in the same situation that you were in before, considering reaching out? Any advice for somebody in the beginning stages?
Honestly, I would just say do it. Just give it a shot. Like even if it's some sort of trial basis or whatever, like just give it a shot. Like because in my initial conversation with you, right, super skeptical about everything. Like that's
Yeah.
just it kind of is what it is. And like, I mean, I think there's a healthy amount of skepticism, but like in our initial conversation that you were like, oh yeah, we focus on quarterly planning, weekly planning, this, that. I'm like, I already know all these processes. Like, how is this going to benefit me? And honestly, now having gone through the course and working with you, just having the coach behind it, having you as a coach, having a community together where you're supporting each other in this and talking about it, it's different. It's so different. And you don't realize, like, my favorite part about the course was this limiting belief section, right? Where like all the stuff, yeah, I had a fundamental understanding, but never really was great on the implementation side. And having that be personally involved, but working through the limiting beliefs and how it intertwines with that is just, there's no dollar sign that you can put on this, to be honest. Like that would be my suggestion, is just give it a shot,
Mm.
because if anything, you go on the other side and like if you didn't put your best foot forward, so be it. It's not much to be out, in the long run of scheme or of everything and the scheme of life. But like it's just, yeah, it's amazing,
Mm.
and having other people, other dads and other working professionals, even if they're not dads, like just having that around you is just such a good influence. And I can't say enough about it.
Nice, man. That's cool. I might start recruiting you to take my sales calls now. That was good. That was so
Oh,
good.
thank you.
No, but I think something you said there really hit too, because you're a former athlete
Yes,
and like you said, like I know some of these things. I know what I need to do, but I'm still not doing it. That's because a lot of people who are listening to this, they they don't need more information. They need personalized implementation.
exactly.
And that's where like that's really what we focus on, and it's getting you to a personalized implementation through a system that helps you remove the limiting beliefs and then just execute, because you
Exactly.
don't need more podcasts, you don't need more audiobooks, you don't need all that stuff. You need the personal implementation. And so that was one thing that really stood out. But then also, you're a former college athlete, football player, right? And so when you have a coach, when you have um, a community, a team, that's when you're at your best. And I just think that that's been super cool. So just want to say thank you, man, for taking the time to talk about this. And thanks for, letting me be a part of your journey. Anything else like coming up that you want to share?
Honestly, like I would just say, just kind of second what you were saying. Like I had always been big into the coaching aspect and wanting to really push myself by getting coaches
Yeah.
for physical stuff and whatnot. And there's nothing like having a coach. If you have a good coach, which, and I can vouch, Mario, you're an amazing coach,
Thanks, dude.
and helping people work through that and the personalization of everything. Just thank you. Appreciate
Mm,
it.
it's been
Sign
so awesome.
language. Thank you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate this. It's been so cool. And you've been such a great like asset to the community, sharing your wins, adding value on the calls. And I just want to say thank you for that. So for anybody who's listening to this, if you resonate with Tryn's story, if you're curious about what it would look like to get that personalized implementation, click the link below, book a call. We'll have a strategy session or send me a message on Instagram. Would love to talk to you and help you level up. So, Tryn, thanks again, man.
Thank you.